Hello, everybody. It seems like the COVID has somehow gotten into our equipment as well. SOKY's Great Outdoors here, Brian Webb. We hope this thing rolls. I'm not sure what's wrong, but we're going to figure it out. Got Michael Pendley on the Linex hotline. Hope everybody's safe, home, and as well as they can be expected. John Kirby, how you been?
Doing good, man. Just glad to be here, hang out with you guys.
Well, we've got Timber to Table, brought to you by Pabst Beef Jerky, fueling your outdoor lifestyle. Pabst in stores right now that are open. They're essential, so you can still get your Pabst, John. That's a good thing.
That is a good thing. There's always a silver lining.
There's always a cup half full if you think that way. But on the Linex hotline, we got him. He's going to talk about a nice little recipe here, and then we're going to talk a little bit about youth turkey season. Michael Pendley, Timber to Table, what's up, man?
How's it going, guys?
Man, we're good. We're trying to figure out what's wrong with our board today. But
yeah, it sounds a little funny today.
It does, doesn't it? I don't know, man. Like I said, I think maybe the coronavirus has made its
early
way
stages.
Early stages, yeah. But anyway, how's the Pendleys doing right now through all this thing?
Doing well, going a little bit stir crazy, just like everybody. Ready to be able to get out and about. That doesn't mean we're not going turkey hunting this weekend. We are.
Absolutely.
But that's going to be about as socially isolated as you can get, so we should be good to go.
Yeah, speaking of silver linings, too, Michael, you got your son Hunter right back from college, because of this COVID. That's a good thing, I'm sure. Get to spend some time with him. And I saw where he cooked you all some fantastic-looking steaks. Was it last night or the night before?
Last night. He's been cooking quite a bit here lately. He grilled pork chops the night before that, and tonight he is, what is he? Oh, he's grilling chicken tonight. So, yeah, he's been cooking up a storm here lately, which is fine with me.
Absolutely, a chip off the old block. I know, Brian, I can probably speak for you and Casey both when I say the Pendley house wouldn't be a bad household to be quarantined in with the skills, the culinary skills going on there.
Exactly, and the inventory of wonderful meats.
Absolutely.
You're like Arby's. You got the meats.
Yeah, you guys say that. Next week we'll talk about, I've got an article coming out on Timber Table this coming Friday about some things that everybody can do to kind of get a little more self-sufficient in times like these. So, it's going to be that exact topic, some things that we can do to not have to run to the grocery all the time and not have to rely on stores and restaurants for food. So,
yeah, that's a great point, Michael. And again, a silver lining. We're all kind of looking for the good in all of this, and maybe one of those things is exactly what you just mentioned there, Michael, about getting the family involved in the kitchen, learning some new skills. Maybe that can be another one of those silver linings that people can pull from all of this.
Absolutely. We'd forgotten a lot of stuff that our grandparents and great-grandparents knew about keeping food on hand, and maybe it's time to start remembering some of those things.
That's right. Remember we used to talk about, a couple of years you've been doing this show, Michael. Remember we used to talk about, what if it ever went back, John, to the 1800s? I mean, what would people do? I mean, because so many people are conditioned to, run down to the corner market.
We've talked about that several times, haven't we? And every time I always say, it wasn't that long ago, and in the grand scheme of things, it was just a blink of an eye ago in terms of time. 100 years ago, things are vastly different, and a lot of those skills, like Michael said, they're gone.
I don't have it. I don't know that.
That's why we got Michael Pendley on the line to explain it to us.
If it gets so bad that you're, throwing rocks or shooting slingshots at robins in the backyard to eat, I'm really in trouble.
We're all in trouble if it gets to that point, no question. What's on the grill today, Michael?
Well, we always save a little bit of turkey from the year before, right before season, because I always like to put out a few turkey recipes. And we've got one of our favorites for this week for today's Timber to Table post. But it's quick and easy, uses one skillet, and everybody's kind of going to love it. It's fried turkey breast, which everybody enjoys. That's one of the most popular ways to fix fried turkey or fix wild turkey is to pound that breast into cutlets and roll it in seasoned flour and fry it. but we kind of add to that with this one. We start out that way. We slice them about a half-inch thick across the grain so that they're nice and tender. And then we take a meat mallet, pound it out flat, roll that in seasoned flour, and you can season your own. Or I'm a big fan of Kentucky Colonel brand. It comes pre-mixed in the grocery, just about everywhere you can find it. And it's, for my money, it's the perfect blend of spice and salt and for just about any fried food. So we roll that turkey in that, dredge it really well on both sides, fry it up, get it done. We take it out of the skillet, and in that same skillet where we've got all those little bits and pieces that we fried it in, we dump some sliced onions. We slice those up really thinly so they cook pretty quick. And then we sprinkle over some more of the Kentucky Colonel or whatever flour coating that you use on your turkey, and stir that around. Cook that flour a little bit, kind of turn it into a roux. Then you add either stock or milk. Milk makes a little richer gravy. Stock makes a little more savory gravy. Either way you want to go is fine. And stir that together until it gets nice and thick. Put those fried cutlets back in to warm back up. Spoon that gravy over the top of them. And it's just a really easy way to serve up some fried turkey that everybody's going to enjoy.
Man, that sounds amazing, as usual, Michael. If you don't care, I want to switch gears with you just for a second and talk about something I don't think we've really talked about before on this, and kind of the importance of it. But the importance of having good knives when you're cooking, and sharp knives. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Absolutely. I carry a knife roll with me everywhere I go. If we go on vacation, if we're renting a house, renting from an owner or something like that, I always carry my own knives. Anytime I go to camp, anywhere, if it's somebody else's camp or if it's ours, I carry my knife roll with me. I've got a certain set of knives that I like to use that I've put together over the years. A good basic roll is going to have a chef's knife in it. 10 inches is a good all-around length. 8 inches if you've got a little bit smaller hands works fine. I like a small cleaver in mine. It's great for chopping vegetables, chopping onions, dicing up meat for fajitas and stuff.
After you chop them up with that cleaver, too, that's a good way to get those veggies from one spot to another with that cleaver, too, right?
Absolutely. Yep. I use it as a slide all the time.
Michael, you know what else it's good for?
Right up. What's that?
Chopping broccoli. Chopping broccoli.
So you do travel with your knives, Michael, right? You said you have a roll.
I never go anywhere without them.
Right.
If there's a possibility I'm going to be cooking, I'm carrying mine with me because I want my knives to be sharp, number one, and I want them to fit my hand and what I like to do with them. And I want a good paring knife or two in there for doing some small work. A good boning knife for boning out, say, a chicken or a quarter of a deer or whatever. But there's a good set that I put together that I like to use over the years, and I carry them around with me.
And speaking of skills that have lost, freehand sharpening a knife, that's another skill that very few possess these days.
It is, and I can do it, but I'm not great at it. I'll be honest with you. I use a work sharp knife sharpener system.
Yep.
With the different bands, and if you look online, Work Sharp itself doesn't offer them. But if you look online, you can even find leather belts that fit it. And,
your straps.
Awesome.
Yep.
They're awesome for finishing up that blade if you get it nice and sharp. But I'll go through 3 or 4 different coarseness levels of the belts and finish up with that leather belt, and it makes them absolutely razor sharp.
And that's a quick system.
Than I can get by hand. So.
Yeah, and that's a very time efficient system too. That those work sharps
it's quick and easy.
And they have a Ken Onion edition that's even better. Got a few more attachments that are even a little more precise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. And what I'll do if I'm doing all my knives at once, which I usually do, and once you get them sharp, you don't have to go all the way back to that coarse grit paper. All you need to find, once they're sharp, if you hit them fairly often with that really fine belt, you can keep them sharp that way and not ever let them get really dull to start with.
Exactly. Yeah, and if you're super OCD like me, you can actually if you take good care of your knives, you can actually maintain an incredible edge with just a strop, can't you? You don't have to always drop back to those low grits.
Or a good steel. That's something I always keep with me in my kit is a really good knife steel.
Yeah.
And, 2 or 3 times if I'm working on a big project, I'll stop and hit that steel with the blade a few times just to keep that edge nice and sharp and to keep it from rolling to one side or the other. It just keeps it straight. But with those work sharps, so like we were talking about, you can lay all your knives out and run them all through one belt and then put on the finer belt, run them all back through it, put on the finer belt, run them all back through. So you can do 5 or 6 knives in a hurry that way.
Absolutely, and we've got a lot of new super steels, they call them, Michael, like Delta 3V and S35VN, stuff like that. That's a regular, like say an Arkansas stone. It would take you forever. A lot of people are going to diamond stones these days. Do you have any knives that you will sharpen with diamond stones?
You've got a couple. Those super hard steels like that. They hold an edge extremely well.
Yep.
I mean, they'll hold an edge forever.
Yep.
But, man, it takes a long time to get that edge on them to begin with.
It really does, yeah.
I've got the Lansky system with the diamond sticks that go into it.
Yep.
And they'll put an edge on one in a hurry and really precise.
Everything you say is suddenly terribly important. Doesn't have to make any little.
And that's good stuff, Michael.
Ladies and gentlemen, a long time ago.
What's up, buddy? Hey, listen, appreciate you every week. You can find Michael at Realtree.com, and you can also sign up for their newsletter, man, and 500-600 recipes on there. I mean, it never gets old, buddy. We appreciate you so much. Good luck during the youth season, and I'm sure the kids are... Well, you got one left, I guess.
Just one left, yeah.
I'll be darned. Well,
the final youth season, huh, Michael?
That's crazy.
Yep. After this year, I'll have to borrow somebody's kids to get the youth hunt this year.
That's right. That's right. What's the weather? I haven't looked. Is the weather going to be pretty decent, I think, isn't it?
It looks awesome right now. 70 and mid-50s for the lows. And they're back. They were calling for a little bit of rain, but now they're backing off of it. So it looks pretty awesome right now.
That's great.
Well, hats off to you, buddy. Stay strong, stay safe, and we'll all get back to normal here not too long from now. I'm hoping that there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel here. Talk to you next week, though, bro.
Sounds good, guys, and hopefully we'll have some turkey stories for you.
I'm sure you will.
Sweet.
We'll make one up if we don't.
There you go.
All right, well, stick around. We'll be right back for the Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center fishing segment. Got Brad Bowles, Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, and we're going to find out what he's been up to. I'm sure crappie have been in the forecast for him, and we'll ask him how this is affecting his job because he's one of those essential ones out there doing it, John, every day. So we'll see what Brad Bowles has been up to when we come back on Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors, ESPN Radio 1027.com. Welcome back, Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors. Bear with us there. I'm not really sure what the problem is, but probably not hearing our commercials, so we'll put those in the podcast. Man, I tell you, we got him on the Linex hotline. Seems like everything's falling apart around the world today and yesterday and tomorrow, but we're going to keep our heads up around here, keep them positive attitude. I know this guy's got one on the Linex hotline. Linex Bedliners, Roger Gina. Going to be coming at you. Pabst Beef Jerky played, and J&K Used Cars, and a few others there. So sorry, guys, if you're listening. I know most of you do. I'll figure out what the problem is. But, hey, we got him on the Linex hotline. Brad Bowles, always a pleasure. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. What's up, man?
Was that intro, Things Falling Apart here, Brad Bowles?
It was a little bit like you're going to have to save us, Brad.
Here you go. I'll try my best, brother. How's everything going?
Oh, we're good, man. How's this going for Kentucky Fish and Wildlife? Because, I mean, you guys have got to be out there. How has your day-to-day changed?
It is. It's changed quite a bit. The biggest thing right now is we're just flooded daily with questions. Hey, is this still open? Can we still do that? And the thing that I want to get out to everybody, the most important thing right now is all of our waterways, streams, lakes, they all remain open at this time. What is going to hurt that? There are other states that have closed theirs, and it's because people have not been practicing the social distancing. So my word to all the sportsmen and women out there, get out and enjoy this time in the outdoors, but be sure, and if you're in a group or you become a group, disperse. Practice this social distancing, because those are the things that we have kind of been told to be watchful for and have to report on, and could result in closures if people don't go by the guidelines that are set forth. You can go to our website daily, and I would encourage people to do this, fw.ky.gov. If there are any changes at all, those will be posted on that website. But as of right now, all of our hunting seasons, our turkey season, our youth season comes in this weekend. Then the regular season comes in on April 18th. All that is still a go.
Y'all had some fake news out there floating around, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. There's so many things, so many scans, so many things that, go out over social media these days. And that's why I encourage everybody, rather than take these rumors and listen and, well, so-and-so told me, I get that a whole lot, go straight to the website and you'll get up-to-date current information that's accurate information.
One thing that it has changed, John, Brad, it's changed a little bit of the tournament schedules, right, fellas? I mean, you're seeing that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And Brad, I think that from what I've gathered, that's kind of what's been going on in some of these other states. Maybe some of these small clubs or some folks maybe just having a group of guys get together for a fun tournament, and it's the few that are kind of ruining it for the many, isn't it?
It's really looking like that. And, you hate to be the party pooper and say, hey, guys, you just don't need to be doing that right now. But essentially, the majority of all the major tournaments have shut down. Our Kentucky Crappie Trail, we decided, look, it's just not a good look. You don't, even though we could probably practice social distancing and still have this tournament, it's still just not good. Right now, the governor is telling us these are the things that we need to do. This is a serious matter, and as sportsmen and women, we need to take it serious and do what we can to, to abide by the regulations or what's been asked of us right now.
Yeah, that's well said. And Brian alluded to it earlier, Brad. As far as your day-to-day, how's that changed, and how do you foresee once turkey season starts and you're really out there in the woods, how's your day-to-day going to change then as well?
Well, we're still going to be out there enforcing the game laws, but, within reason. Obviously, right now, unless we're observing a violation in progress, it's probably not something that we're going to be getting out with and dealing with a whole lot. We're going to, we might pull up and say, hey, y'all catching any fish? Show us your license from a distance. I've had people just hold them up and show it to me. We're good with that right now. One good thing that has been implemented is the governor with the emergency declaration on the registration and driver's licenses has allowed a 90-day grace period. So, that's not something that we'll even be checking in the field is your boat registration and such here, because the governor has allowed a 90-day grace period on those since most courthouses and things are closed.
Unprecedented times, man.
It really is.
It really is. But, I'll say this. One of our biggest violations this time of year with turkey season is people who are baiting. And we've gotten a lot of baiting tips. So, unfortunately, we're going to be out there in the field over the day of turkey season, and if you are going about it the wrong way, unfortunately, you're probably going to see one of us. And, we'll practice our distancing at the same time while having to do our job. So
instead of getting out the cuffs or the zip ties, you're going to be more like old cowboy days and, lassoing people.
Lassoing and putting them in the bed of the truck.
I tell you.
There's a whole lot of question, well, do I still have to have my hunting license? All the hunting licenses and stuff, you still do have to have those. All the regulations are still in place. Nothing has changed with that. And, we still, in the end, we still have a job to do. And, unfortunately, there's plenty of job security out there for us.
Yeah, there is. That's an understatement. And, you hate to say it. You hope that it's not like it normally is when something like this happens. But it tends to, when people think they can get away with a little more, they're going to do it a lot of times.
Unfortunately. We do have a new app, the KFW Law app. If you are a smartphone user, you can download that, any anonymous tip. If you see something going on, if there's large crowds gathering near a waterway, or if you suspect your neighbor has got a big pile of corn out and pulling all the turkeys off your place over there, you can go to this app, you can report that information, and it is anonymous.
Yeah.
And it just gets disseminated out to officers in the field.
To quote Brashear, you can't be doing that.
Yeah, that's a great app. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife does such a great job, and their website and the apps that they have are super. If I can use them, anybody can use them. But Brad, I know I can speak for Brian when I say this. We seriously, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for the job you're doing, man. We know it's not easy. These times aren't easy for anybody. But aside from all that, I want to know how the crappie are biting, man.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, if you can find some stable water, that's the key right now. The crappie are biting really well. I got good reports from guys because Barron is so high right now. The fishing there has not been good, but they went to Lake Malone. That's a lake we don't talk about a whole lot.
Yep.
They long line trolled, and they caught over 100 crappie one day.
Oh, wow.
Man.
I haven't been to Malone in years, Brad. Is there a horsepower restriction?
No, there's no longer a horsepower restriction on that lake.
Okay.
Now, it is a smaller lake, so, it will probably get more pressure now. But, long line trolling right now, those guys are picking up fish anywhere from 8 to 12 feet in the water column. Those fish are staged right now at the mouths of the creeks, and they're getting ready to go into spawn here real soon.
What about it? My bad, Brian. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
I was curious, Brad. You mentioned it. Barron is kind of a mess right now. Super high waters. And these crappie got to be right on the verge of spawning. If some of them are already spawning, I'm sure. How do you see this high water? Do you think it's going to hold up high enough, long enough, or how do you kind of see that playing out?
And that's a good question, and we've asked that the same question the past going on 3 years now because we've had a very similar situation each year. And what we have found through our trap netting studies in the fall, for those of you who don't know, our awesome guys in our fisheries division, they do trap net studies in the fall, and that gauges the success of the spawn by catching the small fingerling, fish that have hatched. And what it has shown is that we've had some pretty good spawns on Barron River Lake despite the high water, especially year before last. So it's all a timing issue. Those fish can get in there and they can spawn. And, what's crazy is, that lake, even though it's up, it's relatively clear right now. And those fish will spawn a lot deeper than what most people think.
Right.
So if they're spawning in 8 to 10 foot of water, Barron's not going to be able to drop that lake enough to lose the crappie spawn. Now, the bass spawn, I can't say for sure on that. It's going to be just, we're at the mercy of Mother Nature right now with the water levels, and, we're subject to getting, a large amount of rain in any given time through the rest of April, So it could, it's just really hard to predict right now how that will affect the bass spawn.
The hits keep on coming. Hey, man, I wanted to, luckily, I got to go down and shoot some footage for my Sunday night show on BKO that I get to do, and went with Michael Bean, and I don't know how in the world this happened, but I really pretty much got one solid bite all day, and that's the fish I caught, and it pretty much it was real close to 6 pounders, over 5.5.
Sweet.
Boy, you made it count, though, didn't you?
Oh, I made it count, and I tell you, Michael Bean's, he can put you on them, man, and I tell you, caught that on a rock crawler crank, and then you caught a pretty nice one before, but here's the thing. We got in there right before Bashir said, don't go to Tennessee. So if somebody wants to get on the Kentucky side of Del Hollow, they can still do that, right? That's not illegal, right?
Right. And I think, the governor's order, obviously, it doesn't want us going to populated areas of Tennessee on the lake there. If you're in the reciprocal area or the Kentucky portion of Del Hollow, you'll be fine. Again, the emphasis is at our marinas, at our boat ramps. We just don't want people congregating If you see that there's a crowd or that it's going to be a crowd, just wait in your truck, until you can get your boat launched and try to really practice this social distancing that's being recommended.
Well, since you just alluded to it, Brad, let me say this. I'm pretty proud of America nationwide, because what I've been seeing, Brad Bowles, is that people are, in some of these cities like Las Vegas, which I've lived in, and I know how rowdy that city is, for them to be rolling up the streets and following these rules of staying in place and kind of only getting out for the essentials. People are doing it all over the country now more than they were, in the onset of this thing. But it's pretty surprising to me, because let's just face it, you're a state trooper and now a wildlife conservationist. Here's the thing. There's not enough police. There's not enough National Guard. If everything got sideways fast, it would not be good. And I feel I'm impressed with the American people right now, to be honest with you.
I know it's not an ideal situation for most. Sitting at home right now is not great. We as a civilization, we love to interact with people. We love to be out every day, and we love to see people. Most of us do. There's exceptions to everything, but it's definitely different times. And I'm like you to see the lengths and the efforts that everybody has gone to hopefully get this thing going the other direction. It is amazing and makes you proud, and again, a testament to how awesome a country we live in.
Before we let you go, Brad, I want to ask you and John both something about and pertaining to our state of the country and the world, really. The globe itself has been tarnished with this thing, and it's happened many times in the past, and it'll happen again. But we're going through one right now that's a little bit different than what we're used to. Do you feel like, to me, I just, in my own personal thought, when this thing's over, man, and I can, take the kids to the fishing or go shoot ball at the park, we're missing things that we took so much for granted.
Oh, definitely, Brian. If anything, it should give all of us a new perspective on how we should be, everything day to day. All those things you wanted to do, you put off, you're so busy. Maybe we slow down a little bit now and realize, how fortunate we are to be able to do the things that we do and that we take for granted so often.
Amen to that.
Yeah, that's well said.
But I have noticed that yard work is at an all-time peak. Things are getting done out around the house.
Garages are being cleaned, that's seeing the light of day for the first time. I want to ask you both, Brad, Brian, have you all seen reports of some situations where nature has kind of like reset itself? Like I've heard a couple of reports in other countries, actually, but reports of like rivers that are running clear now that haven't run clear in like 100 years, and in a lot of ways, nature is like getting this huge reprieve. You don't have all the pollution going on.
I guess you're right.
I didn't know if you all had heard anything like that.
That's profound, man. I'm glad you said that, John.
Yeah,
I would never thought
really
of that.
I hadn't thought about that.
No.
But it's gonna, you don't realize the effects of a daily population, impacting whether it be a waterway or land usage or anything. So
right.
That's pretty cool.
Well, buddy, we appreciate you, and you gave out the website there, and it's a great resource for all outdoors, men and women, and thanks for what you do. Like John alluded to earlier, we appreciate you guys a lot, and you keep things in line, man.
We want to encourage everybody. Like I said, right now is a great opportunity to get outdoors. Fishing, there's no better social distancing than fishing, than turkey hunting. Maybe this is a chance that you can, get out there and spend a few days in the field that normally that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do so. So we encourage everybody to do that. Just be safe. And again, the distancing thing is a big part of that right now. So it's not something that the governor has to step in and say, hey, we've got to shut this down.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let's don't screw it up. You know what I mean? And then it's funny, though, that because Brent Webb has been practicing social distancing on the lake for many, many years. If he's on some fish and you pull up to his boat and start casting, he's gonna be way harder on you than Mr. Bashir is going to be.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Buddy, we appreciate you. Brad Bowles, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. We'll be right back. We got Ben Parker from Parker's Outfitters. He is in Tennessee, and we can't get to him. So we're going to talk to him about that, see how that's affected his business Appreciate Brad Bowles there. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. You may or may not hear commercials. Southern Kentucky's great outdoors. Welcome back. Southern Kentucky's great outdoors on ESPN Radio 102.7, Glasgow 104. The Score streaming all over the big blue marble that has a little bit of a cloud over it from a virus that's out there. And we're going to talk to a guy who's a businessman, an outdoorsman, as well. So we're going to find out how that's affecting him. This is brought to you by Swagger Bipods and Big and J Long Range Attractants. Shoot with Swagger, and you definitely want to stock up on some Big and J, John. Deer season will be here.
Absolutely, and with turkey season coming up, the new Swagger Bipod, the QD model, is perfect for kids and ladies both,
It really is.
and it's perfect for all of us.
Perfect for Brian Webb.
Guaranteed.
But this guy don't need one for sure. Ben Parker. Ben, welcome, man. Welcome in, buddy.
You can't catch this COVID over the phone, can you?
I hope not. I hope you can't. I mean, here you are in Tennessee. Obviously, you heard Governor Andy Beshear has already noted that he doesn't want anybody from Kentucky traveling to Tennessee. Is that affecting your business? Because I know you stay booked up, man. And
oh, my gosh. No, listen, I'm like a lot of other small business owners. This month, everything canceled. Next April is going to be everything's canceled. It'll probably bleed over into May. It's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt everybody in the hotel, motel, hospitality. Well, everybody really.
Everybody.
Our local economy is just, I don't know, it's bad.
Hey, Ben, I know this is terrible for business. It's hurting a lot of people, but I fully expect for you to build some sort of crazy contraption with this downtime you have. I'm expecting like a 40-foot duck blind next year. Yeah, something crazy out of you.
I have a very unique motion duck decoy system that I'm working on right now.
Sweet.
I've got some downtime. I don't know that I don't think it's going to be something I want to sell. I think it's just something I'm going to use and not say anything, but It's going to be pretty epic, I believe.
Man, speaking of motion decoys, they've come a long way in the last 15, 20 years, haven't they?
Oh, my gosh, it's crazy. I try every new gadget that comes out, I normally get one and test it out. And for me, if it doesn't last 60 days in a row, I don't use it. And I like the robos that I use now, or the spinning wing decoys I use now. I still use the old school metal wing robos that came out several years ago.
Yep.
I buy every single one I can find on eBay because they have lasted me for years. I hate it when companies change the way they do the products when the product is perfect. And so I've been stockpiling those old robos because those are the ones I really like to use. I got about 20 of them right now. I got another bid on eBay on 2 of them right now. So I might have 22 of them that I'm going to use at various blinds. But the only other motion decoy, or the only other gadget that I have that has really stood the test of time, is a duck thing motion decoy system. A good friend of mine, Jim Elliott, and some guys designed that thing, and they sell them. And that's the one thing that I use in my timber holes, and it works like clockwork. Once you get that thing set just right, you just flip it on, and it runs 60 days, all day, every day, without a problem.
Yeah, I'd say a full duck season with you is a pretty doggone good test for a contraption like that. Hard to beat a jerk string, though, and it's still a good old-fashioned jerk string.
This duck thing is better than a jerk string, but when it comes down to it, we've used jerk strings my whole life. When I was little, my dad he would put a big goose floater on the end of it, and I mean, by the end of the season, that little hole that string goes through the front wall is about as big around as a quarter when it starts. It's a little bitty hole from all the sawing on it that goes on. But yes, jerk strings, that's a sure way to make a little motion out in front of the blind.
I know a full duck season at Reelfoot is for a guide is hard on decoys too. Reelfoot is unlike a lot of places where a lot of folks, most folks, I would imagine, most guides leave their decoys out for the full 60 days. What have you found the best decoys working for you? Hold up the best?
Because I don't move decoys, because I don't pick them up and put them back out, and because I'm guiding, and when a crippled duck falls in the decoys, I like just yelling out, kill him, get him, and I just let the guy shoot all through the decoys because I use the.
So you got some foam field.
Decoys.
Yep. I knew you did.
Foam-filled battleships. I'm telling you, if you're going to be a guide, especially where you control per single shot that's made, that's going to be better than at the end of the season picking up 4 dozen sunk decoys from underwater, and they hold up. They hold up well.
So what's on right now for Ben Parker? What are you working on?
Today I've been telling customers on duck season.
Yeah, I've been doing the same thing, Ben. I mean, it's and I'm sure a lot of other. It doesn't even have to be industry specific. I mean, there's just so many people out there that they live. I mean, I live 90 days ahead of schedule, so I mean, it's really, and you do the same thing, probably longer than that. So it's a lot of adjusting, isn't it?
Normally, I'm about 75% full by the 1st of April. That's the way I've been the last couple of years. I mean, I booked 270 duck hunts last year.
Wow.
And I have a lot of repeat customers. And normally, when duck season ends, the month of February, they set the dates. And as soon as they set the dates, I spend the month of March calling folks and saying, thanks for coming and hunt with us. Would you like the same dates as next year? Or would you like to hunt in a different location or change the dates or whatever? But because of this virus going on, I've got, a lot of corporate groups that come down and hunt, and they're like, Ben, we don't really know, like, they've cut us off our spending for the next 60 days. We believe that we'll be able to do it, but we just want to know that there may be a situation where they cut our, spending for those kind of trips, and I totally understand it. So, I'm penciling in dates, and we're going to pretend like it's going to go. And if you get a call and says, not going to be able to do it, then I'll, try to fill those dates. But, I hate to miss out on customers that have been with me for a long time getting dates, because normally, everybody just kind of keeps the same dates every year.
It's just such a ripple. I mean, it's a ripple effect.
Oh my gosh.
And it's one that you're going to have to try to back up, and there's going to be relationships tarnished. There's no way around it. I mean, it's just we're all dealing with stuff, and you as a business owner, as me as a representative and an on-air talent, I've got all kinds of things that I don't want to hurt relationships, and I'm working with people as best as possible. But here's the thing we got to remember. We're all in it together, like everybody's been saying. That's a good narrative, but we're going to come out of this, and depending on how well you come out of this as a business owner, I come out of this as an employee of a large company, it all depends on how we handle it. So, I'm just trying to handle it as good as I can and do as much as I can and show that I'm on, I've got your back and you've got your customers' back, and that's all we can really do, and we put the rest of it in the Lord's hands, Ben.
Yep. Well, listen, this is a crazy situation I'm in. I've got a pretty unique job. I'm an outfitter, so I own 2 properties at Reelfoot Lake that I rent out all year long. I use them as my hunting lodges in the wintertime, but I've got people that want to come down here and do fishing trips or bow fishing trips or eagle tours or those kind of deals. But when it looks like I'm not going to have any income for the next 2 or 3 months, what do I do? You know,
Yeah,
it's like
really.
I don't really want to borrow some money that I'm going to have to pay back.
Nope.
I mean, I will if I have to.
Yeah, if you
but
have to.
My CPA today is like, you need to check into unemployment. Now, listen, there's nothing wrong with unemployment,
Sure.
but I've had a job since I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
I've never been on unemployment.
Same here.
And I have no idea how to do all this. And I've been online today trying to figure out, like, really? But, you know, when I went to go look at unemployment options, you know, it's set up for people that get a paycheck, you know, and I don't do that.
Exactly.
So I don't really know what I'm supposed to do.
That's so
You know?
true, man. I get it. And, you know, I would have thought you have a background in finance, don't you, Ben? Aren't you a finance guy?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, I guess you could go back to playing the stocks, but I don't think they look real good right now.
That's not, yeah.
Well, I don't have the access money to be messing with it. To be honest with you right now, I'm more focused on, you know, it's just like any other business. You got to have inflow to make everything work.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a delicate situation too, Ben. Like you said, you outfit for a living. That's how you put and provide food on your table. And so you're balancing that, but also your clients aren't just clients. And I know this holds true for Brian as well. I'm sure a lot of your clients are repeat customers, 10, 20 years, who knows. They're also your friends. So that's, you know, that's a delicate dance there.
It really is. Slippery slope, isn't it, man? I mean, it's just uncharted territory is kind of the way I've been trying to think about it. Let's take a real quick break, use the restroom. Don't go anywhere, Ben. We're going to keep you on the line if that's cool with you, man.
Sure.
Parker's Outfitters talking to Ben Parker on SOKY's Great Outdoors, brought to you by Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating and Cooling, and Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center. Casey's going to fire us up a little music, and we'll be back here 30 seconds, folks. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Take a little breather there. Let Ben get him a sip of sweet tea. It may be what he's drinking down there. Ben Parker, we're talking to him, Parker Outfitter, right down there on Reelfoot Lake. Been doing it for a long time. A great outdoorsman, great bass fisherman in his day. He probably still is good. That's another thing. If tournaments fire up, he might have to get back on the circuit, Ben Parker.
Oh, man. It's like riding a bicycle, son. Once you know how to catch it, you know how to catch it.
I love it.
Man, John's got some stuff he wants to jaw with you about. But before he gets into that, I wanted to ask you, what was it like right before this shutdown? Because it looked like you had a great season, and everything looked like it was in line. Was it a great season for you up until this?
Well, you talking about this duck season? Or
this duck season. You look like you had a really, really good duck season, man.
We kill ducks every day. It wasn't the greatest season I've ever had, but the timber hole that I hunted, I got it 58 days out of 60. And I brought back 953 ducks to the dock is what I brought back. That's not counting knocked down, cripple, lost, whatever. That's how many head we brought in. And if I can bring in $1,000 in a duck season, I'm satisfied. I wish, you know, it could be more than that. We've had seasons where we've killed a lot more than that, but that's a solid season, especially when, you know, this is the second year it's been raining. I think it started raining in October of 2018, and it just hadn't stopped. And during duck season, when everything's flooded, it just scatters the birds out. I think it was better this year than last year because so many ducks survived the year before last. That I think we had a good population of ducks. We actually saw more ducks this year than we did last year, and we still had the same high water flooding type conditions. So, you know, I think we'll have a good duck season next year. It'll be a great duck season the next time we don't have as much water. And that's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I think it's impressive. You killed almost $1,000 with the weather we had, like you mentioned, the rain, and we just had, it was warm all winter, seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Were you killing a lot of birds I know you mentioned before on the show, then you catch a warm weather pattern or a south wind, and those birds kind of migrate north back up into the boot hill of Missouri. Did you see that a lot this year?
A little bit. We didn't. The thing that was missing was what we had back in I think it was 2015-16 season. The first time I ever heard the term polar vortex.
Yeah.
We had high water then, and we had a great December, but we had a spectacular January because we had 2 times during January the temp went from 45 degrees to single digits and was down there for like 2 days, and then he went right back up to 45 degrees. Man, that's the recipe for a duck killing because we're right in the middle, north-south of the Mississippi River Flyway. So, like I said before, and what you just mentioned about, when we get a cold front, we have ducks come through, and as soon as it warms up, the south wind just blows them right back up through here.
Yep.
So the more volatile season we have, the better off it is. But that was lacking this year. It wasn't as dramatic back and forth. We actually had several days of fog that was all day long on the lake.
Yeah.
And that's just a hard, you could hear ducks flying over above, but you couldn't see them. And if you can't see them, they can't see you. And it's just, it's hard to get something to come down into the trees when you just can't see each other.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds kind of eerie. Knowing those birds are buzzing right over top of you, not being able to see them. I'd say that's frustrating as well. Did Reelfoot being pretty shallow lake? I'm sure in years past, we haven't had this much lately in the last few years, but I'm sure you've had to deal with some ice before. What's your kind of plan for dealing with thick ice on that lake?
Man, we've got generators and ice eaters and ice blasters and all those kind of things at all our locations, and we can hunt these days right through the ice. Usually when the lake freezes up, the first 2 or 3 days we have ice on the lake, it's great. But then if it stays cold for too long, all the birds just keep going south, and then we're sitting there with a thumb up our butt until, we get a south wind. So, and that's just one of the things you got to deal with sometimes during duck season. But we've got the boats and the equipment and the stuff to deal with it. I've hunted on the lake when it's been a legit 4 or 5 inches of ice where you're breaking along in a trail, and if you just wanted to step out of the boat and walk, you could.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's really just tougher on your equipment. I just assume it not freeze at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That makes it tough. You mentioned, Ben, that you all do eagle tours and all sorts of stuff. And I would just encourage folks that even if you're not a hunter, to get down to Reelfoot Lake. It's such an amazing lake. You feel like you've gone back in time being on that lake. Can you give everybody just like a brief history of how that lake formed? Because it's a super, super cool story and super cool history surrounding that place.
There are very few lakes that were naturally created by earthquakes. And back in 1811, 1812, there was a series of earthquakes that happened over the winter from about the end of December into the first part of February. And this lake is formed just right beside the Mississippi River. And, hundreds and thousands of years ago or whatever, the Mississippi River has changed, its path, going through over the years. And this area back in 1811, 1812 was basically just a cypress swampy forest and solid trees. And when that series of earthquakes came, it really shook up the place, and a lot of this land area just kind of sank, and the Mississippi River more or less backfilled the area. And one of the last earthquakes, they estimated was a 9 on the Richter scale, basically sealed it off. And it was many, 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 many acres at that time. Right now, the lake and the islands on the lake and the whole general area is about 16,000 acres. And you can ride around the lake and look at eagles from a car, but there's nothing better than getting in a boat and doing a real tour of Reelfoot Lake and going into some places that most tourists just don't ever see.
Yeah, and the cypress tree, that's just beautiful. And the story I always heard kind of growing up that the Mississippi flowed backwards during that, but it didn't actually flow backwards, did it? It just kind of went slack and backfilled.
Yeah, Yeah, that's the way I explain it. I mean, it's not going to change the direction of the Mississippi River.
Right.
But, when you've got flooding, you'll have a break in a levee or in the side of the riverbank, and the water might travel back north and backfill some stuff. But I think that's what people say, but I bet it was just more like a backfill.
I've read, too, Ben, that there's a lot of sediment kind of filling that lake up. Is it kind of shrinking year by year from all the sediment?
The Obion County, the county which a lot of the lake is in, has over the last few decades have built a series of watersheds around the lake that kind of trap a lot of sediment. I think what's affected it more than the sediment flow into the lake is just 200 years of dying vegetation growing and dying and growing and dying and building up on the bottom. Like where I duck hunt back in the woods, you can't just go walking across the duck hole because it's about 2 feet of muck before you get down to hard, like river bottom sand. But, a couple hundred years ago, that was probably just sand bottom and 4 feet deep. Now it's 2 feet deep, but if you jump off in there, it's going to be up to your neck.
Right.
Hey, Ben, first of all, and I want to ask you and John both this question. Have you noticed, I try to be as humble as a guy as I can be, and I think all of us that's our mindset, that we want to be humble, we don't want the ego getting in there and that sort of thing, especially in the line of work that we're in, and I wanted to say, have you saw yourself step back and think, man, I'm really grateful for what I've got going, and I really want this to come back strong. I mean, because that's the way I've kind of felt. I've stepped back and been like, I didn't realize all the things I actually had to be grateful about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You bet. Hey, I appreciate being walking around and healthy and wife and beautiful little daughter,
yes, she is.
and opportunity to make a living in the outdoors. You don't really expect a pandemic to bring everything to a halt, but I think like they say, this too shall pass. You just gotta bear with it.
Absolutely. Well, and God, and sorry, Brian, I just want to say real quick, Ben, I'm sure there's been some awkward situations because in hunting, we all know that there's some egos involved there. And I'm sure when you have clients maybe that think they're God's gift at duck hunting, I'm sure there's some ego situations you've had to deal with before in hunting, hadn't you?
There's nothing worse than being trapped in a box all day with the people you don't want to hunt with.
Yeah.
John's got to do it every Wednesday from 5 to 6, Ben.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you saw my big smallie I caught, biggest smallie I've ever even held.
That was awesome.
God, so I wanted to ask you. I mean, it was close to 6 pounds. It was over 5.5. It was about 22 inches long. I mean, that's a trophy fish, right? I mean,
that's a great smallmouth. Where did you catch? What lake were you on?
Dale Hollow.
Dale Hollow. I fished Dale Hollow before. Man, that's a beautiful place.
Oh, isn't it gorgeous?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a beautiful place.
Love that. Well, we also love Real Foot, and you can find Ben Parker, parkersoutfitting.com. But now's a great time. You're at home, not much to do, thinking about bow fishing and all kinds of stuff. Duck hunting in season, whatever's in season, he's doing it. And you can get a hold of Ben very, very easy. And you really want to follow him on Instagram. We've got a great Instagram account. Where can everybody look you up at, Ben?
Hey, Instagram, Ben Parker Outdoors, Parker's Outfitting. I mean, you can Google Ben Parker Hunting, Ben Parker Fishing, and find us. Hey, if you're on Instagram, do me a favor.
Yeah.
I did a little small contest this past duck season and asked customers to take pictures that incorporate a couple of brand names that I really like. That's Heavy Shot and Drake Waterfowl. And I had a bunch of submissions. I kind of narrowed it down to 10 picks that I really like the best. And I posted all those pics on a post on my Instagram and on my Facebook Parker's Outfitting page today. And I'd like people to just help me select which one is the best.
We'll do it,
I'm doing a little giveaway, and this is just for my customers that duck hunt with me.
That's awesome.
And if you get a chance, go in there and tell me which one you like.
Sweet.
Appreciate you, Ben. We'll be talking to you very, very soon. When this thing starts to break, I'd love to get you back on, buddy. But keep Godspeed down there.
Hey, listen, this is what we need to do. Sometime this summer, you guys come down here. Let's do a podcast
Yes.
or do a show
Yeah.
from the
Dude,
bank
yeah.
of the lake, and let me
Yes.
give you guys a tour on the lake when the weather's nice. And
We talked about doing that last year, and we didn't get around to that. I would love to come down and do like a little bow fishing show or something. John bring his bow, and Josh bring his bow, and I can bring my camera, and we could just have a lot of fun with it.
let's do it.
All right, we'll
Heck
do it.
yeah.
Folks, stick around. We're going to come back and close it up. Ben Parker, check him out, parkersoutfitting.com, ESPN Radio, Soki's Outdoors.
It's that time of year again. Time for Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center's Customer Appreciation Days. Backed by popular demand, February the 20th through the 23rd, you can bring a gallon.
All right, we're back. So I played the wrong one. I was going to try to get a commercial in for my boys up there at Renegade, but it was an old one. So we'll figure out what's wrong with the board, get that fixed. We'll talk about our sponsors in depth next week. We got time. We're planning on being here, so we're planning on being here every Wednesday. If it gets bad, then we'll have to maybe switch gears. But right now, the plan is to deliver you this show like we've been doing for 270 episodes, John.
That's right. I had a blast doing it, too.
240, something like that. I lose count, but they're all good. They're all a lot of fun. Ben Parker's been on a lot of them.
Yeah, always a pleasure having Ben on. He is the consummate professional. I mean, if it has to do with the outdoors, not only does he do it, he's great at it. So, yeah, I would encourage listeners to get down there, fish with him, hunt with him, duck hunt with him. Get down there and experience that for yourself. Real Foot Lake is truly a wonder.
Michael Pendley, Timber to Table, always giving us great episodes. When he's on every week, he gives us awesome recipes. And John, you've even dabbled and tried a few of his recipes over the years, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'd say there'll be a few more in the coming weeks, Brian. I'm digging deep in
Get
the
real
old deep freeze in
creative.
the garage. Yeah.
I was gonna say, man, this is where it gets. We went to the grocery Sunday and last week, and I bought a bunch, and now we're getting creative on making meals, folks.
It's one of the great things about being an outdoorsman. Yeah, I've got a freezer that's absolutely full of deer meat and crappie and catfish, and so it's just one of the perks, the big perks of being a hunter.
That is a great perk, folks, and we hope we give you perks by giving you some instruction on all of our guests, and we've got our pros here, Josh Honeycutt and John Kirby, bringing it to you. Appreciate Casey Warner getting us through it tonight. Who had some more. It seems like every day they're throwing stuff at us, but it just makes us. What don't kill you makes you stronger, John.
That's right.
Stay safe. Stay 6 foot apart. We'll be back next week on Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors, ESPN Radio 102.7.